this, man. No, really, when it's raining like this. I remember when I got my first job when I was 12 years old. And I was just telling somebody recently, my mom didn't even know I had the job for a couple of weeks. I just never thought to mention it to her because it was during summer. So I would go and leave and I'd come back and it was just hanging coupons on people's doors. You know, I'd go door to door and hang these things. And then I got two of my friends to come work with me, and I essentially paid them to do it. So I got paid for every 1,000 that I did. So when I'd go out and I got a couple of friends to work with me, I paid them less than what I was making for the 1,000, and I would keep the difference. So I learned early on about business and profit. And eventually, it was for a pizza store. And eventually, I started delivering pizza for the place. And I remember I drove a Honda Civic, a Honda Civic. It was not even a DX. If you know cars, a DX is the base model of the Honda Civic. It was below that. If you know anything about cars, it was a 4-speed transmission. I didn't even know that they made 4-speed transmissions. Normally 5 is standard. They had vinyl seats, no air conditioning, and that thing sucked, man. But I would deliver pizza in it, and in days like this, there was almost no heater in there. So I'd have to deliver pizza with the windows down because it would steam up the inside. I couldn't see out. There's a street in Echo Park where I was delivering. It's called Baxter. It's the second steepest street in the United States. And when it would rain, I mean, no joke, it's unreal. So I have to get a full head of steam, floor it, go up, and then start to slide down and find a place on the curb where I could, get my car. And then floor it again. That's how I'd have to go up Baxter Street. And by the end of the day, I'm just completely soaked because of the rain. And while it's going on, I'm sitting there thinking, like, this sucks. I wish I had a nicer car. I wish I had a better this or whatever. And then a few years later, I bought the pizza stores. And even though I owned the place, I would look outside when it was raining like this and go, man, I miss delivering pizza in the rain. At the time, it seemed like it was terrible. But it wasn't so terrible, and you had flashes of humor in there, of course. Like I said, having to run your car up a street by slamming into the curb every 20 or 30 feet or so just so you could get up the street. Sounds like it sucks, but sometimes you're going to find that when you were poor, there's a lot of fun stuff that you did, Especially if you get married with someone or you move in together, and you guys are poor at the beginning, and you're driving around, and I don't know, you just like see someone thrown away a table or whatever, so like you grab the table and you drive it home and you're like, you got this piece of crap table, and then you're like, hear me out. I can sand this down and I can stain it and I can restore it. And then the person will be like, you know how to do that? And you'd be like, no, but there's tutorials on YouTube. I can figure this out. And your whole house looks like a bowling shoe. It's just put together like patchwork of like shit you found in other people's trash, But it's your trash. And then, years go by, you get more stuff, and you have a nicer house, you've got, furniture that matches or whatever. But you can look back on it and just think like, those were simpler times. And at the time, they seemed like they were struggles, and they were struggles. But they were positive because you were struggling for something good. You're struggling for something together. And all of a sudden now, from this height of time, it doesn't seem so bad anymore. And you can get to a point where you can miss the old days of being poor. I do. Sometimes I miss being poor. I'm not going to give away all my money. I don't miss it that much. But sometimes you miss having these experiences. You wouldn't trade it for where you are, but you really miss those old experiences. Yeah, Darren.
How I kind of see it is that there's this kind of separation between your life in general and then how you think your life kind of is from your mind. Your life in general can be really good, but the way you think of it, at least for me, I always kind of think something's always missing. Whether it's something or someone. But I feel like a lot of life is just the journey and achieving your goals. Because when you achieve a goal, you can only be content for so long. And it's having having everything you want, it kind of stops this ability to keep on going and achieving your goals. And I think without the journey, it's not
the destination can be a letdown, man. That's one of those hard truths of life that you discover as time goes on. That the journey is a lot of fun. And the journey's a lot of fun. I don't know if any of you, you guys are going to feel this at some point. You're going to graduate from here, and you're going to be all excited at this graduation. You're going to throw your hat, and then you're going to, walk off with your empty diploma case, because they don't actually put them in there. They hand you the diploma case, and you take a picture with it, and then it's great because you go and you practice, and then you sit in the rows, and then they call your name up, and you have to hope that the person whose name was in front of yours doesn't have too many family members, because otherwise you're never going to hear your name. Because they'll say the person in front of you, then their whole family goes nuts, loud, noisemakers, and then they'll call your name, and no one's going to hear it because that family is still going crazy for their loved one. And then you walk up and you get your empty diploma case, which is a metaphor, by the way, and you're like, and you take a picture with the principal, and they go shake your hand, you're like, and then you walk off stage. And then you vote for your favorite teachers, and the 10 favorite teachers are down there. They're waiting for you. So when you come off stage, you shake their hands if you want to. I guess spit in their face if you want to, whatever you prefer. And then you go and you sit back down, and the whole thing's done for you, like 30 seconds. And then afterwards, you're walking away with your family. I don't know, maybe you go eat somewhere afterwards. But otherwise, you're sitting there, and you flip over this thing, and it's empty, which again is a metaphor. Then you have to go pick up your actual diploma. And then you're going to be like Scarface in the restaurant. This is it? 4 years of work, like 4 years of work for something, for a lot of us. 4 years of breathing. And then you might be like, now what? And then of course you have all the people asking you the questions. So, now what are you going to do? And you're like, I don't know. Well, don't you have a plan? I didn't think I would get this far. I don't know what to do. And then you say, oh, I'm going to go to college. Okay. And maybe you do. And you go through those years, and then you have the exact same experience when you get through there. And now you've got a degree and a bunch of debt, and then people ask you, so, what are you going to do now? And you're like, I don't know. I'm going to go back and get a master's degree, and we keep putting off growing up and growing up. My point is that when you find yourself working for one thing for so long, when you finally get it, it can feel like a letdown. Like there's this, I don't know what they call it. I think it's called like doctoral syndrome or something like that. Essentially, so you work for a long time to get your PhD. Some of us get through quicker than others, but you work for a long time to get your PhD, and afterwards, there's nowhere else to go. You walk up on stage, you get a different robe to wear, and then everyone calls you like Dr. Scanlon, and you're like, oh, that sounds so cool. And then it wears off after like 20 minutes, because everyone's like, almost being like facetious about, oh, hi, doctor. And you're like, okay, I get it. And then I don't know, it's like on a Friday, and then you go to work Monday. And there's nothing that's really different. And you feel like things should feel different. Like it's like they hand you that diploma or that degree or that doctorate, and all of a sudden it's like scales should fall off of your eyes. You should see the world completely differently. But no, it's the same world. You're the same person. You've just got some extra letters after your name, I suppose. And a lot of it is because we expect that the world is going to change, but the world doesn't change. What changes the world? It's just your perception of it. It goes back to this thing that we start off with, perception. If you see, if you have like if I ask you, what's a good life? What's a perfect life? I don't know. I guess that's going to be a matter of your perception. I imagine if I asked your father what a perfect life would have been, coming over here, he probably had a very specific idea of what that would be. A house for my family, enough to eat. And if I ask some of us, what's a perfect life? I don't know. I have to be a billionaire. That's a big step, man. I have to win the Powerball or something. I don't know. And I bet for most of us, if I ask you what would be a perfect life, many of us would probably say, I don't know. And if you had it, what would you do with it? I don't know. We have a good guide, by the way. Look at people like Elon Musk. So he started, anybody know how he got his money initially? He started PayPal. That was his thing. And then he sold it. And he made, I can't remember how much he made. He made lots and lots of money off of it. Now, that guy could have taken the money and retired. Well, what did he do? No, you know what I want to do? I want to make cars, electric cars. So he goes and he starts Tesla. Then he gets a bunch of money from that. He's like, you know, it'd be cool if we went to space. So he starts SpaceX. And then he's like, I'm not busy enough. You got banned from Twitter? I should buy Twitter. And he buys Twitter. And this is a guy you might look at and go, he has all the money in the world. How come he doesn't just sit back and enjoy it? You don't think he is enjoying it? That is his idea of a perfect life. To do something that leaves a mark. To do something that matters. Many of us, the idea of a perfect life is, I was talking to one of my students recently, and he was saying that he's a senior, after he graduates, he wants to open up a barber shop. And he's saying, I want to open up a barber shop, and I want to rent out the booth, that way I don't have to do anything. Just sit back and collect money. And I'm like, oh man. I was thinking for myself, I would probably hang myself in 48 hours if I had a life or a job where I didn't have to do anything. If it was just sit back and collect money. And some of you, I imagine, sit there and are like, oh, that sounds perfect to me. Yeah, but you can only sit on the beach for so long. Into every life, some rain is going to fall, even in San Diego. And you might be sitting on the beach, chilling, drinking mimosas, and be like, man, this is the life. And that's gonna be cool for about 72 hours, or 2 weeks maybe. And then you'll look around and be like, now what? And you're gonna have to go find something to do, because that's what we do as humans. We overcome things. We have to have some kind of struggle. We oftentimes say, like, we have to have bad times to appreciate the good times. Maybe. I won't get into that. But you have to have the struggles in order to build character, that's for sure. Because that's what makes you better. Oftentimes I go to my gym and I teach jiu-jitsu, and I'll ask the class before we start, everyone lines up, and I ask the class, all right guys, what do you guys want, easy day or hard day? What's the answer? Hard day. Yeah, I could have stayed home for an easy day. And if someone goes like, there's always like the new person, how about an easy day? And everyone's kind of like, because that person's going to learn today. Okay, easy day for everybody else, hard day for you, come on up. And that person's like, what? And then they stand there. And then you set the timer, and however many people are in the class, essentially everybody attacks that one dude. And what happens is you're in line, and then you go, all right, start. So what do you have to do? You have to take him down. So first person comes up, and you wrestle until you take him down. You slam him on the ground. Boom. Once you get him on the ground, or he gets you down on the ground, next person comes off the wall. And then the next person comes off the wall. And then the next person comes off the wall. So you're doing this for 20 minutes. And every single person who's coming after you is fresh and fully charged and ready to go. And you're getting more and more and more and more tired. By the end, people are picking you up upside down, just body slamming you on the ground. And you're struggling to get up. And if you don't get up, the next person comes off the wall, grabs you, and we pick you back up. And then you continue. Easy day, right? For the 15 or 20 of us on the wall. Hard day for you, but we're all about democracy there. Because you could have stayed home for an easy day. I'm sitting there right now thinking like, man, it's raining out there. I want to go surf though. Because that's an easier day than what I normally do on Tuesdays. On Tuesdays I go run 5 miles as a warm-up, and I do Muay Thai, and I do Jiu-Jitsu after that. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man, it'd be pretty cool to be out in the rain, right? So I'm thinking, maybe I'm going to go do that instead. But it isn't about it being an easier day. It's about it being a more interesting day. Maybe it isn't about having, maybe part of having a good life or a perfect life, we have to understand these things as having interesting lives. Because these intrusive thoughts are always going to be in there. Are you doing enough? Are you doing what you could? Are you making the most of your life? Because it's hard to say that you're making the most of your life if you're sitting on the beach drinking mimosas. And that's not a bad thing to do sometimes. And again, if that ultimately is the best that you can come up with, where you're like, this is the best day possible, that's cool, man. Do that. And do a lot of that. But I don't know that you're going to find that. But it'd be cool if you had that choice, right? Wouldn't it be great to sit on the beach drinking mimosas and think, I need to find something else to do? I don't even know what mimosas are, by the way. I just hear people talk about them. That's what people usually drink on the beach. I've never had, I don't even know what that is. I don't know, I keep saying like I know what the hell I'm talking about. But then again, that's most of teaching, huh? I just sit up here and act like I know what the hell I'm talking about. So finding out what the interesting life is. So we say a good life, a perfect life. Because unless you know what it is, you won't know when you have found it. You won't know what it is. If you don't know what it is, you won't know what it is when you have found it. And so a lot of it, though, is about this perception thing. I mean, think about it. How is it that a poor person can be just as happy as a rich person? Maybe it's not about the stuff we have. Maybe it's about how we perceive the things that we have. And how is it that some of us can look back on those poor days and think, man, I was happier back during those poor days. Because when you were poor, you appreciated stuff. So even if you just had like, if you came home one day and you're like, oh, dude, I found this marker. It's like brand new and it works. That's like, whoa, we could stain the table with this red marker or whatever. It's because you appreciate the thing that you have. Versus if you sit there and you're like, later on, like, I don't know, it's Expo versus Office Depot. Which shade of red do you prefer?
Expo.
Yeah, and you find yourself sitting there going like, does it matter? Well, yeah, because it's subtle. This one's a little more cherry. This one's a bit more muted. Which do you prefer? And you're sitting there in life, actually sitting there trying to figure out what kind of fucking bath towels to buy. You know? It's like if any of you guys are ever driving around San Diego and you see me outside of my house, like squatted down looking at my lawn, and thinking, fix that lawn right there. I gotta clean this up. I have a responsibility to the neighborhood to make sure that my lawn is in good shape. Go around the block in your car, and then next time you come back around, hop the curb and kill me. Okay? I'm on video now. I'm saying, if you find me obsessing over the length of the blades of grass in my lawn, you're doing me a favor. You know, because you see these people walking around sometimes, like carrying bags of stuff, looking like they envy the dead. You know, because they're trying to find this thing and this thing, and they don't realize it begins up here. You know, appreciate the things that you have when you're poor, and then then continue that mindset. A funny thing will happen: you won't probably want a bunch of stuff when you have more money. You'll be more content, and you'll have more money. But what can you do with it? Oh, maybe now you can do some more good with it. You know, if the more you have, the less that you need, the more you can bless others with the stuff that you have. You know, family members, friends, homeless people. Your English teacher from all those years ago. That's my genuine hope for all of you, that you become very wealthy and that you remember me in a positive way. That way I can sit back and do nothing and just collect money. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? That arm is still broken, bro.